Only for just a minute that Pharos had closed his eyes. However, when he opened his eyes, he immediately noticed something strange. In stark contrast to earlier, the room was now blindingly bright. Outside the windows on the ceiling, the blue sky spreads out. It was clearly a different space from the one he had been in earlier. Pharos sat up and looked around the room. The space surrounded by white walls isn't particularly large, but the ceiling is unusually high. It was like the same crystal coffin which he was lying as before. However, there is no dust or sand buildup on it, and it is literally crystal clear. Pharos got up and looked for an exit. He looked around all four walls and couldn't find any entrance or exit. In his haste, Pharos began banging on the walls. Then, when he touched a certain surface, a large hole suddenly appeared in the wall. Pharos was confused, but he stepped outside. When Pharos stepped outside, the first thing he saw was the endless expanse of nature. Flowers bloomed everywhere, small hills stood in a row, and a rainbow hung over a waterfall cascading between the mountains. The trees and flowers were vibrant and vibrantly expressing life, almost as if they were emitting light of their own. Pharos couldn't help but laugh because he was unable to catch up with his thoughts. Wondering where he had come from in that single moment of lying in the coffin. Either way, this must be the farthest reaches the old woman was talking about. There may also be Orgos. Thinking that, Pharos walked to a nearby stream. Then he headed to downstream. Wherever he looks, the views are stunning. Pharos had traveled many places with his father, but he had never seen nature so alive. The light was so bright that even the birds flying in the sky and the fish swimming in the river seemed to sparkle. Pharos was completely captivated by the sight. After walking a little further, Pharos came to a cliff. The flowing river roared and cascaded downwards like a waterfall. The valley floor was so high that it was almost blurred, and when Pharos looked down he felt as if he was in heaven. The vastness of nature spreads below, as well. The green of the forest and grassland, the light blue of the water source and the light of the river flowing from it. The hill is covered with flowers in shades of white, purple, red and blue. The colorful spectacle that spread across the earth seemed to speak of the greatness of God's creativity. As Pharos was entranced by the magnificent view, he suddenly heard his name being called from somewhere. The voice was heard clearly, unabated by the roar of the waterfall. Pharos looked back and nearly fell off the cliff. Right in front of him, there was a woman standing. She was a tall, slender, beautiful woman. Her chest-length blonde hair was lustrous and silky, and her large, almond-shaped eyes were a brilliant golden color. With a smooth smile on her face, the woman gazes upon Pharos. The clothes she was wearing were shining gold, and the skin peeking through it was as white as snow. "Hi," the woman said in a clear voice that sounded like a sparkling light. The voice was clearly audible amid the roaring sound of the waterfall, so loud it made one want to cover their ears.
"I have been waiting for a long time to meet you like this,"
the woman said as she bowed slowly.
"Who are you?"
Pharos asked as loud as he could. The two were so close that they could almost reach out and touch each other. But the roar of the waterfall was so loud and Pharos thought they might not be able to hear each other.
"You don't have to raise your voice so much,"
the woman said with a smile.
"There's no need for words. I can speak directly into your head what I'm thinking without say it out loud. I can understand what you're thinking even if you don't say it out loud,"
the woman said, her mouth firmly closed.
"So, who are you? Are you a resident of this country?"
Pharos asked aloud again. Even though he's told he don't have to say it out loud, He don't know how to do it.
I am Elandra, I share your destiny.
As those golden eyes stared at him, Pharos felt something he had almost forgotten flash in the back of his mind. He tried to grasp the outline of what it was, but he couldn't. It was like a speck of a star that he catches out of the corner of his eye but can't see when he tries to look at it. Pharos couldn't help but ask again.
What does it mean to share a destiny?
It means exactly what it says. I will always be with you. And now, like this, I have finally been able to get you to acknowledge me.
Pharos furrowed his brow, crossed his arms and stroked his chin as if trying to understand the true meaning of those words. That was Pharos' habit when contemplating. Then, as if by chance, he spoke.
Could it be that you're a ghost?
He asked, worried that the fact that he could only be seen in this world meant that he had wandered into the afterlife. But Elandra laughed and shook her head.
No, that's not the case. I'm not dead. It's not that you can recognize me in this world, but rather that your frequency has increased since you came to this world, and you are now able to recognize me. Besides, this is not the afterlife.
Surprised by Elandra's words, Pharos raised his head and looked closely at Elandra's face. Elandra smiled and nodded back.
Yes, that's right, I know what you're thinking. Even if you don't say a word, it's being transmitted.
Elandra smiled again at the silent Pharos.
I know why you came here, and why.
I see, so you know everything.
Elandra's true identity is unknown, but Pharos feels relieved to have a guide in this strange world. Then Elandra shook her head.
No, my role is just to support you.
Elandra said with a serious expression, looking straight into Pharos' eyes.
Of course, all choices and decisions in your life must be made by you. I cannot tell you what to do about that. However, I can show you a better path for the mission you have decided to follow in this life. But ultimately, the decision is yours. Whatever that decision is, I will support you. Of course, I will not judge or criticize the value of the choices or decisions you make. No matter what you choose, I will always be with you. This is your life, so you should follow the path you believe in. In the same way, other people each have their own path in life.
If she knew everything, Pharos thought she might know where Orgos was, but when he heard that, he stopped listening.
Perhaps, Elandra said that after fully understanding my thoughts.
Pharos thought, then Elandra smiled with satisfaction.
Yes, you will know what you need to know, just go with the flow.
Pharos nodded, but he didn't know where to go from there. He's made it this far, lying in a mysterious coffin in a mysterious building, which location he don't even know. And so, he has no idea where the dragon stone is, or where in this wide world he should look for it.
From here on, we must follow the guiding stone,
Elandra said, pointing to Pharos' dagger. The red stone embedded in the dagger's handle was emitting light. Curiously, Pharos pulled out the dagger, and a red beam of light shot out in a straight line towards the edge of the cliff.
What on earth is this?
Pharos asked, staring at the beam of light emanating from the stone.
The guiding stone, one of the dragon stones, it will show you where you need to go. But just having it will naturally lead you to where you want to go. It's surely because of that guiding stone that you've been able to come this far.
Still, why would something like that be attached to the dagger that my father had?
Elandra said to Pharos, who was puzzled.
Your father must have been here before.
Then, Elandra moved closer to the edge of the cliff. Her steps were more like gliding on ice than walking.
Come on, let's go.
Elandra stood on the edge of the cliff and spread her arms. Then, Elandra's whole body emanated a light.